Hey guys, just getting sort of set up here. So we've just hit sort of 7 o'clock. So what I'll do is I'll just keep an eye on stuff and see how we're doing. If you're online, if you're watching this, I need some kind of acknowledgement really that either you can hear me or that you're here or whatever. So just give me a number 1 on the screen if you in the little chat box. If you can hear me, or a thumbs up, you can give me a little thumbs up on the live, on the Facebook live thing, or whatever. Just some kind of comment or whatever, just so that I kind of know what's happening. We're going to give it a couple of minutes before we get started, and in them couple of minutes, I'm getting a couple of thumbs up now, so that's brilliant. Jonathan Kingston, good to see you, mate. Glad you can join us. Helen, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Helen. Bit of a thumbs up there. Christina, ignore my other comment on the other page. Can hear you. Brilliant. Okay, I haven't seen that comment at all, so I don't really know. I don't really know what you put there. So like I said, a couple of minutes. Going to let a few people get on, and then we've got some live training. Now I normally only do this live training for members of the Conquer Food community. So this is people that sign up for our monthly Conquer Food coaching, or that have been on the Conquer Food program, and they kind of get access to that coaching as standards. And we've been pretty quiet, purely because it will not have escaped you that we've had a few changes staff wise. We've had a few changes in regards to our website and our marketing, all that kind of stuff. A lot of changes there. And all that has meant that I've been really working hard on getting some of this marketing and everything sorted out, new website and that kind of stuff. But also we've had a change around the staff, and I've been training. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I never really know. But I've been doing a lot of training out on the training field, and obviously when I'm training, I can't do the other stuff and all this kind of stuff. So I really want to step it up, especially because I'm heading out to Peru pretty soon, which I'll do a little bit of an intro and talk about that in a couple of minutes once we're up and running. Okay, so kind of twiddle your thumbs, a couple of minutes, and then we'll get going when everybody's on. Hiya Gemma, how you doing? Glad you can join us. Who else is there out there, guys? Just give us a little thumbs up, or just comment on this little live video and let me know that you're around and that you can hear me. And what we'll do actually whilst we're waiting, on our live training that we do, a weekly training with the Conquer Food community, we usually start with any sort of significant wins that you've had. So if you've had some kind of, whether you've had small wins, big wins, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But let's start off with that and put ourselves into a real positive state. And when I come back online, I'll share a couple of my wins with you as well. Okay, so start getting them in the comments, and then we'll have a little scratch through them when I get back. Okay, so we're going to crack on. We've got about 7 or 8 people watching. Keeps flicking in and out, sort of 7, 8. Couple of the people. I'll just warn you now, right? Paula is away at the minute, which is why I've been given a bit of time to crack this. She's off looking after her nephews for a couple of days, and she will no doubt try and phone me at some point through this training. It kind of always happens. So we're going to crack on. Okay, so in lining up this training, I posed a question in the virtual bootcamp group, and I said, what is your number one health, fitness, or fat loss pain or problem right now? And I got a few replies, and some pretty good replies as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer them questions tonight, and there's quite a few, and I want to go, I want to give some decent answers to those. So I don't know how much I'll be able to answer other questions that you put in the comment box, but I'm going to try. I want this training to last about an hour. It's just coming up to sort of 7 minutes past 7 now. And hang on a minute, let's... you need to be able to see me, don't you? Yeah, here we go. Should be able to see me now. So we're coming up to like 7 minutes past 7 now. There's a little bit of a delay. So we'll go till about 10 past 8, okay, and kind of see how we get on with that. Right, let's get into some wins. Who have we got? So Jonathan Kingston started training for a 10k today, which is immense. Bearing in mind he couldn't even get around the paddock when he first. Well, he could actually. That's a lie. But he was really restricted when he first came to camp. How long ago was that now? Was that 2 years ago, Jonathan? I don't know, but yeah, incredible. I remember going for your first walk. You did like a little bit of a reduced walk, and almost passed out. We had to get the ambulance drivers, the paramedics in afterwards, because you just run yourself, out of all energy and all that kind of stuff. So that's good. Sonali, 2 dress sizes down after 2 weeks at camp. Thank you. That's incredible. Well done, Sonali. I knew there was 2 people that was really, I'd like to say stand out, but you weren't stand out. You just got on with it, and that was you and Anila. And you just got on with stuff, and you really applied yourself and really worked hard at it. You weren't any fuss. There was no problem. A little bit of a knee problem and all that kind of stuff, but you just got on with it. And people like that always do well. So to hear that you're 2 dress sizes down is immense. Well done. Claire Bowers, yeah. How could we miss that amazing win? If you've not read that, get yourself in the virtual bootcamp group and have a little read of that, because that is astonishing. And this is a little bit of my opinion here, and sometimes I can come across a bit opinionated and all this kind of stuff, but I keep getting given bits of truth. Now, the medical world are struggling for the cure to diabetes. They're struggling for the cure to some cancers and some ailments and illnesses and all that kind of stuff. We've got the solution. We've got the treatment. We've got the remedies, whatever you want to call it, and that is in looking after your body, sorting out your eating, sorting out your rest, creating a positive mindset, and it has this amazing effect of healing the body. And to hear that you have absolutely kicked diabetes into touch, but not just that. That's the stuff you can't see. I mean, let's have a look at the stuff that you can see. You're training pretty much every day. You're inspiring other people to train, which is immense. And, it's just incredible to see you grow. And it's incredible to see this face that I barely recognise, this little slim face, taking pictures and sharing it. Incredible, Claire. Well done. Helen lost 5 pounds last week. Brilliant. Not without going too much into Helen's story, had an operation recently, which kind of knocked off her training a bit. But to hear that she's losing weight is without really being able to train properly is immense. So well done, Helen, on that. Gemma, fitness levels increasing since recent weekends at boot camp and better eating habits. Good, and we're going to see you again next weekend. So that's good. A local peak yesterday, fitter and faster. Brilliant. That's all we need is like a little bit of progression every day. And if you progress every day, boom, you're heading for some good stuff. And then she broke a coccyx. Nothing worse than banging your coccyx, trust me. Christina, beating the expectations of a trainer in the gym for a fitness testing yesterday. I fucking love that. I love that. I love it when people that are naturally fit, naturally got good images, have been led into the fitness world because they are good at this stuff, and they look at somebody and they make a judgment. And I love it when that person then completely kicks that judgment into touch and just proves to them that they have got a lot to learn about people's body size, about their image, about their abilities, about their determination and grit, because all those factors you know, I see it time and time again. All those factors beat image. It beats body weight. It beats all this stuff, you know. So I love hearing about that, Christina. Well done. Okay, my win. Just quickly, what I'll say is, in training, I'm going out to Peru. I'm going out to do a 230k run through Peru, and my win. I did a 20 mile yesterday, which, you know, it felt all right. Got a little bit of a niggly knee, but I think it's because I ran through loads of nettles and, you know, got nettle stings. But that's all right. You know, that's like a standoff thing. You can go and do that. What I need to be able to do is back that up with another run today and another run. And I did a really fast 10k today, which was immense. And I'm ready to go. And I'm going to train again tonight after this webinar's finished. So that's good. I feel ready. I've got another week and a half to drop a little bit more weight, and I feel ready for Peru. I know it's going to be horrible. I know it's going to be really tough through the Amazon, but physically, you know, I'm in better shape now than I was when I ran across the Sahara. My kit's ready. Let me show you my kit. Here's my kit, all packed up. My little running poles, which were a gift from the TEAM Bootcamp staff. This weighs about 6.5 kilos right now, without water. There's going to be 4 bottles of water topped up on there, but all my food and everything's in there ready for the race. So that's that. And by the way, I mentioned about how you can win a bootcamp break. I know I've shared that, and many of you have actually sponsored a kilometre already. I just want to get a bit of a plug in there. If you're interested in a chance to win a week at camp for £3, then let us know, and it's all part of raising money for a military charity. So that's that. Get that out of the way. Right, that's the wins, including my wins. Let's get on with some training. Before I go into some of the questions that you've asked, I just want to talk to you about. I want to sort of remind some of you, and perhaps teach some of you, how our actual minds work. Because when I was looking through these questions and I was kind of thinking, you know, right, what am I going to say about this and all this kind of stuff, there was one thing that really struck out to me. And whenever you're removed from the moment when you're kind of struggling with stuff, whenever you're detached, okay, what we do is we have enough time to be able to engage our logical brain, right? I know this is, you know, it's very chimp paradox and all that kind of stuff, but it's very, very effective. It's a hugely popular book, and for good reason. And we use logic, and then we're standing there and go, you know, why did I do that? Or why do I do that? Or how can I stop that? And all this. And we try and use our logical brain for what is in effect quite often an emotional problem. Okay, so this is kind of what happens. Now, I want to illustrate kind of what's happening in our mind when we're making decisions and we're caught in a moment where we make a bad food choice and all this kind of stuff. Because if you kind of understand it, it'll help you find answers in a different way. Because looking for answers in a detached manner will, you know, you kind of leads you to think of the answer in a logical manner, right? What I mean by that is, this is why we think, oh, right, well, if I go to the gym and do more time in the gym, I can offset this bottle of wine, right? Logically, we sort of think, right, the answer's in exercise. I can feel the benefits. I can feel it's tangible. I know what's kind of happening. The problem is that that's not how the human mind works. That's not how our, you know, how we kind of work. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Before I did this, in order to paint a picture, I've got a little picture of Paula. All right, so that I got earlier on. All right, so let me just change these little thingy settings again. Right, that's that. Right, so here's Paula. Here she is. Hi, Paula. Looking really slim. 30 kilos down, I've got to say, since those really dark days when she was struggling with food and all that kind of stuff. Looking immense, looking absolutely incredible. So here's Paula. What I want to do, I want to use this little image here to kind of explain what goes on. So what we think happens is we kind of think that we have a thought, right? We have a little thought there like that, and this thought then passes down through our sort of in our mind. So in our mind, and then that thought then controls our actions, and our actions then bring about our results. Okay, that's kind of what we think, but that's not actually what happens. What happens is we have a thought, right, in our, in our the part of the mind that we're aware of, and that then passes down through our subconscious mind into our body, and our subconscious mind really fucks about with it. In our subconscious mind, we've got all our values, our beliefs, our habits, our routines, our programming since we were kids. We've got all this kind of stuff in our subconscious mind, right? And that's it kind of, our thought passes through it. And this is what I mean by, a logical decision because, an emotional decision, because emotions and beliefs and, limiting decisions and all this kind of stuff gets hold of it and just fecks about with it. And that then leads to a whole different set of actions than what we wanted to do. A completely different set of actions that we wanted to do. So some of you might have gone and you tell me, just give me a little number one or a yes or whatever in the comments, that you might have gone, right, I need to go for a run. Logical. Passes down through our emotional brain without us even being aware of it. We don't go because think, I don't want to run because I've not got a sports bra, my bloody boobs will be bouncing everywhere, or I'll look, I don't, people will laugh at me when I'm running and all this kind of stuff. And it's that potential for being embarrassed stops us going for a run. Logic is saying run to lose weight, and get fit. Emotion is saying, don't you dare. And we call this the whisper of 10,000 generations, right? This is thing. So I want to kind of throw in this whisper of 10,000 generations. What I'll do is I'll actually bring my face up so you can kind of see. There's nothing worse sometimes than kind of, having not really being able to see who's talking and all that. All right, so hopefully you can see me there as well. 10,000 generations. Okay, back in the caveman days, if women especially, we were kind of living in groups, and it revolved, survival of the group or survival of the individual depending on the group. Okay, now if you was embarrassed and you was kind of kicked out of the group, you was dead. You was a goner. You was very, very unlikely to survive on your own, because that's just humans. We was never really on our own. We're not really solo animals. We're herding animals. That's why sometimes when you get on a bus, right, and there's only a couple of people sat on the bus, you sit quite close. Our natural instincts, the whisper of 10,000 generations, gets us to kind of want to herd a little bit, which is kind of bizarre, I know. But we have these whispers of 10,000 generations, and we also got the whispers, or the family rule book. Did your parents ever say to you, you'll never be a runner? And you're like that, well, there's no point going running because I can't run. I know I can't run because my mum told me I couldn't run, or my dad told me I couldn't, or the teacher or someone else with authority told me I'm just not a runner, and so we have these things. Now, if this is kind of making sense, if this is good revision, if it's, if I'm kind of talking the right things, then let me know. All right, so give me a yes or perfect, or tell me how it relates to you or whatever, and let's have a bit of interaction, so it's not just me sending all this information across. So the reason why I'm kind of going a little bit deeper into this, and we're talking about Paula here, is that when we look at the questions in a minute, I want you to be thinking, right, what is this a logical statement? Is this, is our emotions and programming, the whisper of 10,000 generations, is it kind of getting old at this and fecking about with it, and see if you can kind of start to spot it in other people's questions and what other people are saying. Because if you can spot it in other people, very soon you'll be able to recognize what the signs and signals are, and you'll be able to recognize it in yourself. And then there's it just helps you to tackle things in a completely different way. All right, so straight away, and this is why, I have a big issue with, not a big issue, but same again, opinion again, thanks for the thumbs up, guys, is, with fitness professionals that are really in the public eye, right? And I know that they turn out some great stuff. Okay, let's take the body coach, for example, right? Brilliant stuff, and what an entertainer, very knowledgeable as well. But do you know what he misses? He misses the fact that not everybody can do the movements that he does. And there's a select group of people, in fact, it's probably not even a select group of people, it's probably a large portion of the population can't do those the movements that he wants to do. A large portion of the population don't want to spend all the time cooking and following these recipes and all this kind of stuff. And and I kind of wonder if there's a whole massive niche there really of someone to come along like that and to kind of completely get a grip of this. The fact that we're not all fitties. I mean, I was there when I was in the Marines. I was supposed to be one of the fittest young lads in the bloody world. In the military, in the world, and I was a porker, and I hated fitness. I had no interest in doing all these programs and everything that was doing. Okay, it wasn't until afterwards that I kind of started to get a grip of it. I'll catch you in a bit, Jonathan. There'll be a little bit of a replay for this anyway, so don't worry about that too much. So anyway, and what we do is we try and we follow these gurus and we're kind of saying, right, what's the best exercise for this, and what's the best exercise for that, and what's the best recipe for this, and what's the best recipe for burning fat, and should I train in the morning in a fasted state, and what's the best, what incline should I have it on in the gym? Let's pull it right back. How the heck do we get ourselves in the gym when we've no motivation? How the hell do we start to get ourselves off this addiction to sugar and other chemicals in food that we've got? How the hell do we get ourselves off that? Because no amount of bloody jumping jacks with a double squat and a twist is going to change that. So here we go. So Helen, I bought Insanity, nearly brought the house down around me. Brilliant. I mean, Insanity is incredible, but there are a lot of movements that you cannot do. You cannot do, and so anyway, bit of a rant there. But what I'm kind of saying is, we have this logical idea of how we should fix these things, but quite often it's an emotional problem, and we cannot always fix emotional problems with logic. All right, so this is what I want you to kind of bear in mind as we work through some of the questions. Okay, so hopefully we're good. Right, okay, so first question then. This was posed by Amanda. Guys, hopefully you won't mind me putting your names up, but I kind of put the names up there so if you're scratching back through the video, you can kind of see what's going on, or you can see your question. So I know I just put not having my eating under control. Right. So my first thing there is that what that is in language terms is that's what we call a generalization. Okay, not having my eating under control. She's generalised and said, I don't know if Amanda's on. Amanda, if you're on, let me know. And she's kind of said, I've not got my eating under control, which I know is a bit of bullshit, to be honest. Because I see her post pictures of her meals and how she's smashed out in the gym and how things are going really well. And obviously there's days where she kind of missed, so you can kind of go, right, okay, well, perhaps that day has not been as good, and perhaps that's the day she's not been in control. But it's not a general statement that every bit of her eating is out of control. Yet we make these generalised statements all the time. I'm not fit. Well, compared to what? And that's the thing, that's the question to ask yourself, Amanda, is like, I've not got my eating under control. Compared to what? And I would hazard a guess that your eating is much better now than it used to be when you was however many stone heavier, and I know you've lost a significant amount of weight. So, compared to what? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to flip it, we're trying to reframe it, and we're trying to, and by sort of getting a good fix and working out what the context of that statement is, we can then start to look at we can be more progressive with it, right? We instead of going, well, I've not got my eating under control. Okay, when is the eating not under control? Is there a certain time of day? Is there a certain day of the week? Is there a certain period of the month? Is there all these different things? When is your eating not under control? Because now we can start to identify some of the triggers. Where is the eating not under control? Are there certain places? Is there certain events? Is there certain people that when you're with them people, it goes out of control? Is there certain emotions where, if you start to feel a little bit low or a bit down or a bit excited, a bit too happy or whatever, is there emotions where your eating's not under control? And how is it not under control? Is there certain foods that you go for? Is there a certain shop that you go to? Do you eat in private? Do you eat in your car? All these kind of things. And I know, like, when Paula was, really working hard on her eating, and she was binging heavy. Like, she would tell you herself she was binging very, very, very heavy. She'd do it in private, in her car, in certain spots, in the country lanes, and all this kind of stuff. And once she started to identify all these little triggers and all these little problems, she could start to pick away at them and remember that sorting out your eating is a dial. You turn it bit by bit. And what I would ask you to do, Amanda, is to look at how you can be, 1 to 5% better tomorrow, or between 1 and 5% better next week, because we don't just click our fingers and become gurus living off fresh air for the rest of our life. It is a dial that turns. And even Paula, you think, it'd be really easy to look at Paula and go, well, it was just like an overnight thing. I just got a grip of it and sorted it out overnight. That is not what happened. Paula had years and years and years of fighting this and changing it and tweaking it and gradually turning the dial until eventually it looked like she'd got it under order. She'd got it under control. And I'm going to talk later on about like momentum. What we're looking to do is convert the momentum, and we are like North Sea ferries, right? When a North Sea ferry is piling it across the channel, if we want to turn it round, it's not just a case of like slamming your handbrake on and just doing a 3-point turn. It's a case of like, right, hang on, we need to really slow it down, and that's going to take a mile, and then we need to take a big arcing turn around in the sea with the waves lapping against us, and that's not always pretty. And then we need to start building up speed again to get going in the other way. And we are North Sea ferries, and it can take a bit of time, but in that time we've just got to recognize that we are moving forward. We won't recognize it if we're making generalized statements. I hope everybody sees this. It seems really subtle and really basic, but this is really powerful stuff, because we need to start moving the momentum in the opposite direction. Instead of thinking, I've failed, I'm doomed, it's out of control. Not all of it is out of control. There's just little things that we need to tweak and work on, and then start to be a bit more consistent with, and we can sort this out. And remember that, like, ill health and poor health and poor image, excessive body fat and all this kind of stuff, we usually don't get it overnight. If we did, there'd be less people eating crap food. If we ate a really shitty meal and instantly we was just like, boom, there'd be less people eating shit. But it takes a long accumulation of what we're doing consistently in order to have these bad results and this ill health and all this kind of stuff. And therefore, it's going to take a little bit of time to reverse that. Okay, so, if this is kind of interesting, a new way of thinking about it, if you kind of agree, if you've got another slant on it or whatever, then let me know. Helen's saying Friday night's always been takeaway night. It's a habit. Don't enjoy it most of the time, but still do it. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about habits, and what you've done there is you've kind of anchored that, it's Friday night, end of the week, I don't want to cook. I've had a hard week at work or whatever. I don't want to cook. It's Friday night, takeaway night and all this kind of stuff. But if you want a different result, that's got to change. And it doesn't have to change forever. But you might find that when you change it for 2 or 3 months, you actually don't want to go back to that old habit. And quite often we fail to change because we think it's like permanent and forever. And it's not. You only have to do something for as long as it takes for you to want to do it. Because, quite often it's like running. Claire, Nicola, Mike, when they first started, they didn't want to run. They didn't like running. Now they're running marathons, and at the start they had to run. We had to make them run and they didn't like it. Now they want to run. You see the difference there, and it's exactly the same with your eating. So give me a thumbs up if you think that was a good little answer to the question, or certainly got you thinking. Ultimately, what I want to do is get you thinking, so that's that. Right, we're going to move on to the next one, unless anyone's got any kind of comments. I don't know how long. All right, good, thumbs up, brilliant, that's good. A little sip of water. Apologies if you can hear it. Okay, Claire. So we're on to your little question here now. Let me just bring this down a bit. So, not achieving my weight loss and fitness goals. Okay, so what I want to do at this, I want to, again, as I always do, I kind of look at stuff and go, right, what would other people kind of say? How would they tackle this? And I always see if there's like, is there another route to go? Right? And I've kind of got a different spin on this, different spin to a lot of people. Now, a lot of people will tell you, focus on your goals, set your goals, make them really clear, make them specific, make them really, time bound and all this kind of stuff. But, the problem with focusing on goals is goals don't bring about goals. Let me just say that again and let it just sink in for a minute. Goals do not bring about goals. We need to set goals. Of course, we need to set goals. We need to know where we're going, and it's almost like a lighthouse or whatever. But staring at the lighthouse doesn't get us to the lighthouse. It doesn't get us through the rocks safe and sound. What gets us through the locks and that is keeping the goal in the lighthouse in sight, but still paddling, or still steering the boat, still manoeuvring through the water, And what actually brings about our goals is the little steps, the little actions, routines, and that kind of stuff that we need to do in order to create the goals. So, focusing on goals, well, that's all well and good, but that's not what brings about goals. So, for example, let's look at losing weight, right? And you say, right, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. Holiday's coming up, I want to lose 10 pounds. 10 pounds. Every day you're like that, right, 10 pounds, here we go. Yeah, 10 pounds, 10 pounds. And, you're writing it on the wall and you've got a bloody picture on your fridge and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, 10 pounds, let's go. And you get on the scales at the end of the week and you've put on a couple of pounds. Because what you've done is you've focused on the goal instead of focusing on the little steps you need to do to reach the goal. Okay, so what I would say, Claire, is, really look at some of the things that you're doing now. And there's a great saying that I want to share with you tonight, and that is if you to get what you want, you need to deserve what you want, right? To get what you want, you need to deserve what you want. And I always say that health, fitness, weight loss goals, fitness goals and all this kind of stuff, it's not a credit card that we can just go, right, I'll have all the results now and I'll pay for this later on. It's not like that. You've got to pay in advance, in full, before you get anything, right? Sometimes well in advance. So we need to be doing these steps and these things and concentrating on those things in order to achieve our goals. Now, hopefully, you'll kind of see the analogy in that, and so pull it back and go, right, that's my goal, that's fine, but let's get a piece of paper out. What steps will I need to do in order to achieve this? Because that's the thing I need to focus on, and then when I'm actually going through those steps, now I can look at my progress and I can kind of see where I am compared to that goal. Instead of this goal just being out in front, this lighthouse being right out in front like that, well, I'm just never seem to be getting there. A better analogy would be the horizon, because every time we think we're getting close to the horizon, it just gets further and further away, and and that can quite often be just like goals are. So we need to be looking at those steps. All right. So a little bit of an action point for you is is start off and work out what these little steps are for you, relative to you, and be honest, because there is no change in that honesty. What steps we're going. I mean, from what I see, and I know it's only social media and it's a little bit false sometimes, from what I see is the majority of the time you're doing really, really well. And a couple of times you have some bad food choices, usually in the evening and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so, what is going wrong? All right, this isn't generally, you're not generally doing well. It's just isolated incidents that's kind of scuppering you a little bit. All right, so, and same as I said to Amanda, how can you be 1 to 5% better tomorrow? All right, how can you be 1 to 5% better next week? These little incremental changes are going to make a huge difference. One thing that I do, I'll kind of just share with you, is I have little symbols for my goals. Well, not for my goals really, for the actions that I take. So at the minute, big focus of mine was getting a new website up and running. It was getting back onto the membership site, which will give you a little bit of an insight. So this is like the Conquer Food membership site, and inside there's loads of videos, and little resources where you can, we get you to kind of work through all this stuff with your mindset stuff. So there's like little frameworks. Let me open that up and show you. We give you like little worksheets, and so this is a commit to change worksheet where we go, right, what you got to let go of You need to elevate. Anyway, I'm not going to kind of run through it too much, but what I do is I create a little thing, and I know that I will achieve my goals with the website and marketing and, you know, sorting out the trainers and all that kind of, if I'm consistent. So every time I get in the shower, I draw this, right? I draw this in the condensation. And what that represents is me being consistent, taking consistent action. Bang, 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 bang. So every time I get in the shower, I'm writing this. I'm going, right, I just need to be consistent. I just need to be consistent, because if I know I'm consistent with this, if I know I keep chipping away at it, I'm going to get there, you know. I could write www. That's my goal, to get the website up and running. I could write that. But that's not going to bring my results around. I'm not going to achieve my goal by focusing on the www. I'm bringing up my goal by focusing on the consistent effort. All right, that's where the focus needs to be. And you can always look at it, and you know, and then look for the progression in that. So same again, thumbs up, because I need to know that there's people out there and that you're getting benefit from this. So tell me that. Incidentally, whilst I'm waiting for them thumbs up, I also have this other signal that I write every day. The women will love this, and I draw a P in a love heart, because my goal is to have a marriage and a relationship that people are jealous of. Okay, and what I do with that is every day I look at some way of showing my love for Paula, or expressing my love or gratitude, appreciation, or whatever. Okay, so I have loads of little symbols like that. At the minute, I have another one. This is sort of very goal oriented. I'm doing a 230k race, and every time I get in the shower, I do these little symbols. So human mind loves symbols. 230 with a target. That's where I want to be, and then I finish it off with my bang, 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 consistent effort. Because if I know I'm consistent with my training, I'll get there. I know it, you know. So hopefully, again, that's like another little spin on what we're doing. Right, we're doing for time. All right, we've got about another 25 minutes. Cool, Claire, brilliant. And I know you're doing well. I know you're doing well. There's just a couple of things to keep chipping away at. And we always say this. You might even remember this from the Conquer Food program, is that you never truly get rid of some of the demons. You never really get rid of the problems that you are facing right now. You don't get rid of them. They're still there. You just learn to cope with them better. You learn to handle them better, and you learn to fly above those demons, you know, and that's kind of what happens there. So good. All right, next question. If everyone's happy, we're going to crack on to the next question. This is posed by Janet. How can I show you this? There we go. I don't have an off button generalization to stop me eating rubbish. What is rubbish? See what I'm saying again? You know, I really want to know what the context is here, because, you know, we teach there is no good food or bad food. There's just the wrong context. You know, what is she clashing as rubbish? You know, I don't have an off button. Well, is there ever a time where you've not eaten rubbish? Are you eating rubbish 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for every meal? You know, we've got to look for this. Hi, Nicolette, how are you doing? We've got to look for this bits of positivity, so we can start to build this momentum in the opposite direction. I love the rubbish food better than the healthy food. I need a new way of thinking to achieve my goals and feel better in myself. So can you spot the conflict there? I love rubbish food, but I need a new way of thinking to feel better. So what is it? Do you love food? Do you love that rubbish food? Or does it make you feel shit? Does it, you know, because what we're kind of doing there is there's a conflict in what we're saying, you know. So basically, the way that I want to answer this, and we've talked a lot about momentum before, about the ferry analogy, you know, about this ferry, and it's literally bombing across the channel towards France or whatever, and you know. We cannot just flip that round. We cannot just get our knee down and turn this bloody ferry around. It's going to take a little bit of time just to slow the momentum, really start to sort of fudge the nose round a little bit, and then start picking up a bit more speed. So, you know, what I would be saying is similar kind of thing again. How are you progressing? You know, what, when, where, what, and how are you eating rubbish? What foods is it? And how can we start to interrupt the patterns and routines that you've got? And I don't mean by like not having it in the cupboards. I mean, you know, we've been saying that a few years now, but let's and I'm going to swear now because I want to stress a point. Let's be fucking honest. If you're having a shit day, you're having a shit night, fucking there's crap TV on the telly, you've had an argument with your bloody partner or whatever, you will get in the car and go and get shit food. You'll go and get it, and you'll pick up the phone and you'll order it in. You will do that because the drivers behind some foods, you know, and the need to self-soothe ourselves with food is so powerful. It doesn't matter if it's in the house or not. It's just one little basic obstacle, but there's shops everywhere, there's supermarkets everywhere. You know, it used to be that we couldn't go to the shop on a Sunday, you know, but we can get food all the time. We can get this crap stuff all the time, and you know, and me myself, I've done it. You know, one night I couldn't sleep, and I got in the car and I drove off to bloody Mackie D's in the middle of the night. You know, like 1 o'clock in the morning, because we can, and we are sometimes compelled to do that. But as long as it's not like all the time, as long as it's not making us feel shit, then, you know, it's not the end of the world. We can turn it around, you know, we can turn it around. So, what's Helen saying? I'm getting a bit sick of chicken and broccoli. Well, you know what, Helen? Not as sick as you would be of cancer, you know, and I know that's a bit of a blasé way to think, but we need some honesty sometimes, you know. We need to know that, all right, back to the, you know, it takes a long time, an accumulation of what we're doing in order to feel the negative effects of the bad food and all this kind of stuff. If it happened, you know, if it was like heroin, you know, heroin, there's a good chance it's really going to fuck you up the first time, right? There's not many, well, there is actually, but, you know, we are not on heroin. Maybe, I don't know, but, you know, we're not on fucking heroin. I don't want to risk that. But because, like, eating rubbish food, the effects of it are so much more into the future, we kind of discount it, you know, we really discount it. And eating healthy is boring. We have turned it into peaks and troughs of enjoyment in modern day, because we're just not in tune with our bodies the way that we used to be in caveman times. You know, there was a lot less going on, we was less connected. You know, there was just less worry and less stress and all this, and we knew what these feelings are in our body. Now we don't really know. We're not really connected that much, and you know, I've kind of lost my train of thought there. But in essence, you know, and eating has become a default setting for so many things. You know, of these like self-soothers. The issue being that when we consistently do it, eventually it's going to kick us in the nuts. And if we go back to the credit card analogy, what we're doing is, you know, if you imagine different bank accounts, one account is your health account, and one account is your nutrition account. At some point in your life, you're going to want to make a withdrawal from that. You're going to want to make a withdrawal. And this happened to me and my dad not long ago. My dad wanted to make a withdrawal from his health account. He basically had a real bad problem, real health problem. And he was immobile. He couldn't look after himself. He couldn't even wipe his own backside and all this kind of stuff. And he was wanting to, you know, withdraw from his wealth account. But he'd never paid into it. It never ever paid into it. It just boozed, ate curries, done very little exercise, and he'd never made deposits into this account. Therefore, he couldn't make a withdrawal. And what he looked to do was make withdrawals from my health account by saying, right, you're going to have to wipe my ass. You're going to have to change my socks. You're going to have to do this. And at the time, I was like, no, I'm not. You know, for a few other different family reasons and all this kind of stuff. But you're going to need to make deposits at some point in your life. And, you know, if I could find some way of just reminding everybody that the accumulation of it is going to kill us early. It's going to make our life hell, you know. And yes, broccoli and chicken sometimes it's pretty bland and it kind of gets a little bit boring, but it tastes fucking better than cancer. That is the truth. It tastes better than diabetes. Claire, am I right or wrong? It tastes better than, IBS. It tastes better than colitis and all these problems. But because all these things come later, we forget that, Keep going with your chicken and broccoli. My thing, in fact, let's get on, there's another question that's very similar to this. Or not similar to this, but in a... let me find it. Here it is. No, that's not it. let me find it. Come on, it's someone that we know. Jody. Here it is. So Jody's put, feeling like I could slowly get bored and go back to where I was without realising it. Okay, so same again, a little bit of conflict in the statement there. She without realising it, she is realising it because she's put it there on the screen. She wrote it to me, so she is realising it. So she can do something about it. Awareness is the key to everything. If we're aware of something, we can change it. It's the first step to everything, and she is aware of it, which is good. So my answer there, and this is the honesty. You know me. I do not bullshit you guys because there's no change in that honesty. And eating healthy is boring. But Paula used to look at me with tears in her eyes and say, if I've not got chocolate, what have I got in my life? And as a husband that, remember, is always trying to have a relationship that people are jealous of, it fucking hurt. It hurt to hear that, My point is, it is going to be boring. It needs to be boring. It was boring when we was cavemen, when we evolved, okay? And it needs to be boring now. We don't need to be hacking it and fucking about with it and making it more interesting and making it more fun and turning it into a celebration and using it as a self-soother. What we need to do is we need to create a life that is exciting. We need to create a life that self-soothes us. We need to create a life that gives us peaks and troughs and enjoyment and all those things. Not food. Food should not be our default setting. We need to create a massive life, a life full of excitement, whatever that is for you. For me, it's running around the fucking jungle and running around the desert and all that kind of stuff, trying to trash my body and people following me online and all that kind of stuff. And this is what it needs to be for you. So my question to Jodie is, create something exciting in your life. What's next? You've been to boot camp. You've had some great results. You're back home now and you're doing well. What is next? There's got to be something next. We need to progress, because if we're not progressing, we're not growing. And if we're not growing, we're dying. So something. What is it going to be? Jodie, I don't know if you're on here. I don't think you are. But if, what is it that you can put in your life in the next few days, in the near future, perhaps a couple of months down the line, that can make it more excitement? And here's an extra thing to make it super strong for you, Jodie. How can you involve your child? Because I know that a huge part of your life. And how can you make this incredible thing? I refuse to wipe my dad's backside. I know this is pretty grim, right? But I refuse to wipe my dad's backside because he did fuck all with me. He tried to give me his presents, not his presence. Kids don't want presents, they want presents. Now, you might be the greatest mum in the world, but for you, what can you create that is super, super exciting, that is so different, that's the next level, in order for you to continue to grow and leave food where it was? Food, you need to be happy with it being boring. People need to look at, you should take solace in people going, I can't eat that. I need a bit of variety and a bit of taste in my thing. Oh, brilliant. Because, how does fucking cancer taste? Because that's what's coming, and take a bit of solace in that and find excitement somewhere else. Whether it's meditation as it is for some people, whether it's writing, whether it's running, whether it's reading, whether it's traveling, whatever it is. Everything that you had spent on shit food, put that into creating something more exciting. The time that you spent eating crap food, put it into something else. Helen, horse riding, brilliant, fucking brilliant. This was bringing tears to my eye. Lauren, you're totally right. I needed this tonight. Lauren, brilliant. And everybody, get in the comments now. How can we make this new bit of excitement, this new self-soother, these peaks in our life, that's not attached to food anymore. You know, how can we make ourselves feel better in a different way? And that's what we need to be concentrating on. So I'd be really keen to, and I didn't mean to rant tonight, but sometimes it just comes out, doesn't it? You know, and I'd be really keen to hear what you could do. And I get these comments, I can see Helen thinking, I can see Lauren's thinking, and all we can do is get you to think. That's all. You know, when Paula's doing her coaching, we just want to get you to think. Brilliant. All right, so do we miss a question out there? Right, here we go. So Amanda's put, some of my tastiest meals have been the plainest of food. Do you know what, Christina, you're right, because, you know, you think about it, like when we was cavemen and cave women and roaming around, honey was like immense, so immense that we would risk death to get honey. You know, running along in our loincloth, battling with a load of bees, getting stung for honey, you know. Now, honey on the old sweetness scales compared to high fructose corn syrup, high strength corn syrup, it's just like nowhere. It's just nowhere on the sweetness scale. You know, corn syrup is just like one drop in 1,000 litres of water. We can still taste it as if we've put 3 or 4 litres of honey in it, you know, and it's just so powerful. And this kind of stuff and these chemicals affect about with our taste buds and jacked them up. You know, we've got to be having Ben & Jerry's packed full of chemicals in order to be getting any kind of taste. But when we start to sort out our eating, it resets itself, you know. And Paula's big thing right now, and Paula's got to be the role model for everybody, because by God, she was in a bad way with food. Her big thing right now are blueberries, and she'll have a bit of clotted cream with it, because, you know, she wants to get the fat content up there. But blueberries, you know, and she's like, oh, I love it, absolutely beautiful. You give kids blueberries nowadays, and they kind of really kick you in the shin and run away and bury the face in bloody whatever, you know. But some of the most basic foods, when we really stop and we allow our taste buds to change and reset, the pleasure's there. We've gone beyond it by hacking our food for so long. Being with someone who makes me want to be the best me I can be. Fucking Claire, incredible. Christina, I've also started to what's this? Just jumped. Sorry. I've also started to sit down and eat my meals rather than rushing around chasing kids at school. What a difference sitting down makes. Yeah, because, you know, quite often we don't account for the food that we just snack on as we're moving around. It's one of my big things at camp is I hate seeing people pick up the food and go and sit in the chair watching TV whilst they have the snack. Sit to the table, because you'll account for it then. You know, sit to the table and then, you know, it's just, we're not kind of getting lost in it. So I love the little apricot energy balls at Camp Sweetness. Yeah, it's out there. It's just, you know, whether we feel like we're being a little bit naughty by having this food, you know, or whatever, you know, we're of a generation where, you know, like for me, we went to McDonald's for birthday parties, you know, once or twice a year. So it feels like a celebration, doesn't it? It feels like something. It feels like, I'm just laughing at Helen's comment there. They were rank. People's taste buds are different. Enjoyed kale and spinach as much. Brilliant. All right, so that's that. The hour of work. Same answer to the question. You know, when, where, what, and how you're eating. What are the triggers? You know, how can we start to interrupt that pattern? You know, it's like I'm trying to think of. So I might have it over there. Give me 2 seconds. Right, some of you might have seen this at camp. I got this. It was a Kickstarter project. I think it's out and about, and you can get it on Amazon and all that now. It's called a Pavlov, right, as in the, you know, Pavlovian dogs and all that kind of stuff. But basically, what it is, it's like a little electric shock device. There's 2 little things there. Gives you an electric shock. and it's for beating habits. And I thought, wow, I need to get one of these and test it, and if it works, I'm going to shock all the conquer foodies, right? That was my thinking, and it fucking did work. It did work. My thing, I bite my nails. I've relapsed now, but I put this on, and what it did is I set it so that every time I kind of went like that, it went zzz, and it would shock me, and it made me massively aware of what I was doing. And once you're aware of something, and you kind of trigger that in the brain and go, oh, we can start to change it, and if someone's writing an answer like, what is the biggest problem right now? Well, it's when I'm getting home from work. Right, good, because now you're aware of it. Now we can start to change it. We don't just feck it off and, that's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. How can we start to change it? How can we start to change this momentum, get the ferry going in a different direction, all this kind of stuff, and picking one little bit at a time. And it is that turning the dial. It's pretty much the same answer. I know I'm going over stuff. Bad food places, so you can't go past them. The one that reminds you where all the bad food places. Yes, Ro's right. There's an app on the phone, right, and you can set it so that when you get in close proximity to like some kind of fast food restaurant or whatever, it can buzz you and give you an electric shock. It's not a reminder where it is, Ro. It's a bloody reminder that you need to stay away. That's Pavlov. Why was I getting this? Why did I get this out? I think it was about awareness and that kind of stuff. Oh, interrupting patterns. We need some way of interrupting the pattern that we are following. One of the best times to change our habits is when we move house, because, how many times you move house and you're like, where did I put the plates again? You have this pattern interrupt, whereas in your old house, you'd go straight to the drawer and you know exactly where the cutlery was, you know exactly where everything was, and so imagine if you moved the fridge on the other side of the room onto a different room completely, or just, I know that's maybe it's a bit unrealistic, but what we're looking for is different ways to interrupt what we're doing, right? This pattern, this interrupting the pattern. Imagine if we got out of work and walked a different direction, or we came out of work at a different time, or with someone else, or whatever. I don't know really, without sort of throwing different scenarios, but how can we interrupt the pattern? Because every habit has got three parts, as some of you will know. There's the trigger. Okay, this is the thing that we're trying to interrupt. Then there's the routine, and then there's the reward. Okay, so if we can kind of interrupt the trigger from happening, or put ourselves in a different place or whatever, then we can start to change it. Another way you can do it is you can start looking at the actual routine that you do. So, you're going home from work. What can you do as the routine to get the same reward? So, I don't know what Amanda's getting from the toast, the ice cream and all that kind of stuff. But, we look at what that reward is and what can she do that's a better option, a better routine in order to get that. And I don't know what the answer is until we kind of speak to her. We're on. Right, we're on 8 o'clock. So let me have a little look through. Weekends always ruin my plans because of eating out, parties, meetups, friends and socialising. It's a real common one. We can do a lot of damage in a weekend. I'm massively against people going to have a cheat day, because by God, we can cause some damage in a day. We can do some damage in a meal. Let's face it. Not just sort of physiologically, but psychologically. We've already proved that sometimes we have a bad meal and we think the whole world is falling down on us and we're fucked and we throw the towel in. Okay, very rarely is it the case, because it's what we consistently do that counts, not what we do every now and again. So the thing is, with this thing, Yaz, I know Yaz. It'd be interesting to see how she is when she kind of leaves camp, because we've got, it's the same again, we have these routines. The people around us will either help us or sabotage what we're trying to do and all this kind of stuff, and sometimes you just need to get out of it long enough for them to kind of change their idea of dragging you along and all this kind of stuff, for you to be able to change your habits there. So that might be the same when she gets home again. Right, I'm kind of drying up, and it's getting a little bit. And is there any sort of afterburners? What are the big things that you're kind of going to that you're going to take away from this little session here? Here's one more. So Laura's put, knowing I worked hard, ate clean and still feel fat. You know, it's this. We don't get instant results. Like I said, we've got to be looking for the little bits of progress where, you know, it's really small increments. And if we focus on just one thing, you know, quite often you can get disappointed. We need to look at what you're doing collectively. That's why we do like the biggest wins when we first come on this video and all that kind of stuff, because weight will let us down. The way we feel will let us down. Our clothes will let us down because we are not a closed system. The human body is an open system, and all sorts of things are going on. And, you know, there's different cycles, and, you know, we can have a little bit of food and we can feel bloated. We can look in a mirror and we're losing weight on certain parts of our body that emphasize other parts of our body. And we kind of think, well, I'm getting bigger. Well, you're not. It's just that perhaps around your trunk is getting thinner, which emphasizes the love handles and all this kind of stuff, you know. And we need to be looking at so many other ways that we're winning. So many other ways. Blood count, you know, whatever it is, you know, and tracking our progress like that. And kind of avoid how we feel sometimes, because how we feel is temporary. You know, it will always pass, and something will always, you know, it'll be different tomorrow. So we can't, instead of like taking a snapshot of how we are right now and living by that, we need to get away with how we feel and look at how we're doing other stuff. So Christina's saying, my takeaway from tonight is the 1 to 5% improvement daily. You know, 1% is so easy to improve by 1%. But if you do that, you know, and you do it every day for a year, all right, you might not do that, but every day for a year, 365% you've improved, right? And a year is not that long, really. If you do it for 6 months, it's 180% more. Am I right with that? Half, 150, whatever it is, 185% more, you know. Do it for bloody 3 months. You're 90% better than what you are right now, you know, by just going 1%. And what you get with that is similar to saving money. You know, if you put your money, penny a day, in a high savings account. Told you, Paula, try ringing me. Let's try and see if we can get on the phone. You get interest on that. You get compounding interest, you know, and it's the same with your health. You start to get exponential improvement in your health and stuff. Right, here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Say hello.
Where are you?
We're doing a webinar. Say hello, you're on the microphone.
Hello, everybody.
What are you doing?
Well, I was phoning you to tell you to read what I've just put on the Gauge of Famalan, because that's my first night with my nephew.
Okay, so the Gauge of Famalan is our little family WhatsApp group for Paula's family. She's put, okay, so day one, night one. Oscar told me it's his birthday tomorrow. Liar. He rides his bike to school and he stops for 2 snacks. His mum lets him be late to school every day. He produced a bag of chocolate at 7:15 and told his mum. Mum gives it to him before bed. Then he cleans his teeth. He then told me that he wheezes in the sink and not the toilet. When I told him that's not true, he said, yes, it is, Paula, because you poo on the toilet roll. What?
And he's 5.
Oh, God. So Paula's looking after her nephews at the minute, and she's having a right tough time. So, okay, so shall I phone you back in a bit, or do you want to? Have you got anything to say to everybody that's on the?
No, I've got to go.
All right, see you in a bit.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
So there you go. I told you should phone. Right, okay, so we're going to wrap up now. 8:05, perfect timing, unless there's anything else. What's bite-sized steps to reach your goals? Yeah, that's what it is, you know, and remember this, get in the shower. When you're in the shower, you know, when you're just kind of lost and you can't do anything else, you can't be on your phone, you're completely disconnected. Hey, Geordie, disconnected. Think about, you know, draw this in the condensation and remind yourself that it's what we do consistently that really counts. It's what we do consistently towards our goal, the actions, the routines, and all that kind of, our reactions quite often that creates our goals. Thinking about the goals doesn't. And I missed that reactions before, but quite often our reactions to stuff are much more important than our actions. You know, if we have a bad day, how are we going to react to that? If we get out of work and we're bored and all this kind of stuff, how are we going to react to that? It's our reactions that are really, really key. In fact, I might even do a whole different webinar or whatever on our reactions. Jody, don't worry about timings. You'll be able to look back and watch this. But yeah, definitely going to get another one in before I go to Peru. At least another training session like this, because then I'm away for 10 days. Yeah, see you Saturday, Christina. Take it back on the open day. Brilliant. Anyone else back on the open day? Helen, not setting the weight loss goals a week, which I've put on the calendar because I'm not where the calendar says I should be. Yeah, it really is about consistency, and you know, and whatever it is, and being those incremental steps better every day, every week, or whatever, you know. So brilliant. Good thumbs up from everybody. And anyone got any little afterburners, anything they kind of want to say? We've still got a couple of minutes. If not, or whilst you're kind of thinking about it and you're catching up with a delay, let me just show you this again. Now, some of you I know will be members of the Conquer Food community, the Conquer Foodies website. But you know, if you're really struggling mentally, we've created a whole host of videos and worksheets, and in fact there's a whole workbook where you can kind of look at all these different things, and it kind of works with the Conquer Food program. The Conquer Food program being our 11-step process for completely changing who you are. Really, we start off by, you know, a little bit of getting started. Then the C is commit to change, only accept what empowers you. It's about what you get energy from, and how to nurture a powerful why, and all this kind of stuff. And you know, it's for nothing really, you know, and used well, used right, incredibly powerful, because it's not logic, you know, it's not the logical stuff that we kind of think we want sometimes. It really is the psychological and emotional stuff, the deep-rooted stuff that we're tackling. In fact, there's one thing that what I'll do is, I spoke about before, and people find this really really interesting. That last little thing is this little worksheet, right? This is one of the most popular worksheets that we have. We call it the Tree of Truth, okay? And it's part of the second step of the Conquer Food framework, which is only accept what empowers you, because we get so much shit thrown at us, you know, and from different angles and different things. And this is about like working out what serves you and getting rid of what doesn't serve you and all this kind of stuff. So, and what we usually find is that when people need to make a change, right, quite often we focus on these things that you will you'll openly talk about. So it might be, well, I just need to lose a few pounds. That's not that embarrassing. It's not that personal and all that, you know. So these are like the symptoms. You might go to the doctor and go, well, I've got a bit of a rash, doc. Okay, so we need to sort this out, you know. And these are like the symptoms, these small branches and leaves that are in this tree. But as we come down the tree, we've then got things that you won't say. So, you know, this might be like, well, I eat because my life's pretty shit at the minute. Or I eat because I'm stressed. I don't want to be with my partner anymore. My kids are doing my head in, the teenagers, and the forget me about, you know. And these are like a bit more personal things that we wouldn't say to like, you know, a stranger. But the real change, you know, when people really start to change who they are, their relationship with food, is when we start to look at things that they can't say. And these are like the roots, you know, of the Tree of Truth. And it's kind of, you know, we did a little bit of that today when we kind of said, you know, well, life's a bit boring, food's a bit boring. Well, what you're not saying there is your life's fucking boring, you know? That there's nothing in your life that's really getting you excited to the point where you forget food. You forget to eat because you're having such a good time doing other stuff. Or, you know, it's just so low on your priority that you're not that bothered. It's not that much of a factor. Your life doesn't revolve around something that you drag out of the fridge or something you buy over a counter. You know, it's about other stuff. You know, we kind of walk you through all this kind of stuff. So I just I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so anything else that we've said? Nothing. Brilliant. All right, well, I'm glad you've enjoyed this. I will sort of leave this up for a little bit. Anyone that's in the Conquer Foodies website, I'll download this and I'll upload it to the members area, so it'll be there forever. So if you want to come back and watch it, then that's fine. I've really enjoyed doing this. I thought there were some great questions there. If you wanted to do another session like this, then let us know. And if you have found some interesting stuff from this, stuff that you can take away in action today, then what did the angry face? What's the angry face for? Then let us know. Then let us know, and we can do more. We can do more, especially because Paula's away and I'm twiddling my thumbs in the evenings. All right, so that's that. Excellent. Okay, so take care. Thanks for your little thumbs up, and I'll either see you on Saturday for the open day, or I'll catch you in the next lot of online training. So take care. How do I end this thing?